Sometimes we wish we can go back to the past, live better lives than we did, knowing the mistakes that we did and the good things we missed. Would that be great? Sometimes our faith in God is great. What of times of pain and trouble? It's times like this that our belief in God is about to be tested. Can you tell me about it?
Here's my motivate. How I bumped into Priscilla is quite the story. And I'd like for you to just put it on the table. Tell us a little bit about Priscilla before we find out about Natalie.
Priscilla is a young woman born and brought up in Moranga, and I'm the fourth born in a family of 5. And yeah, I'm a single mom to Natalie, homeboy, and I teach computers to public schools children in Ngong and Kiserian. But until Natalie released a book, that's what I was doing. But since then, I've been trying to put her talent out there to the public and hoping that the public will appreciate what she's doing.
So Natalie, how do you feel when you write?
I feel thankful for what God has given me inside, like my talent. My mom used to play the part of dad and mom, so she used to encourage me, keep your own journals. So she used to tell me, when you're happy, write about your happiness. When you're sad, write about your sadness. So I continued writing those journals, and out of the journals, they were translated into poems. So I wrote those poems to encourage other people who are sad not to feel alone.
Oh, wow. Now, going back to you, Priscilla, do you say that this is something that you had picked on early in life and you passed it on to Natalie?
Yes, I can say it's something I'd picked on very early in life, because I remember growing up as a young girl, I was so good with memory verses. And so every day, my dad was a pastor, and every Sunday he would tell me to prepare some notes and share with the Sunday school children. So I used to write something short every week as a young girl. And my parents were not so keen to realize that there was talent there, or it was something that needed to be nurtured. As soon as Sunday service was over, it was go back home and prepare for school tomorrow. And it went on like that. And by the time I was a teenager, of course, I got myself into messes here and there. And so I lost focus into all that. And I caught up again with it now after I gave birth to Natalie, because she came out of a not so good circumstance. But, no child is an accident. And so that's when I started saying, let me go back to my first love, which is writing, and share my experiences of pregnancy, being alone, and being a single mother. So every day I could write small notes and just keep them to myself. And it continued. And Natalie, by the time she knew how to hold a pencil or a pen, I started telling her, let's keep our short journals. One day we'll look back and we'll see where God has brought us from, and we'll, make something out of that. But her now, she loves the idea of telling people, sit down and let me narrate to you what I've written. So poetry became natural in her. And I remember when she had written so many journals, where she started writing when she was 4 up to when she was 7. And a friend came to my house last year and told me, what are you doing with all this? Publish something for Natalie. So when we went to the publisher, and he gave her a few tests here and there, and he said, wow, there's a book, and people need to see what you're writing about and to hear you recite.
Having Natalie and the journey to having Natalie was not easy. And you had to walk through pregnancy as a very young mother, obviously, and walk through that journey alone.
Yes.
I'm going to ask this, and it is a very personal question. You grew up in a very heavily Christian background, and your father was a pastor. Where was your family as you were, going through this journey?
All right. As I told you...
If it's prying, be sure to put me in my place, and I'll be fine.
Okay, all right. As I told you, I grew up in the village, in a pastor's home, and everything was so church, the Bible. And so, there are things that our parents never used to talk to us about. And by the time I got to 18, my dad fell ill suddenly. And so I just cleared fourth form and there was no money to take me to college. So my mom advised me, I have this friend in Nairobi, I'll send you to her. She'll give you any job, cleaning or being a maid, anything, just to get you out of home at that time. So it was my first time to be in Nairobi, and I found myself working as a cleaner somewhere in Mombasa Road, and I didn't love my job. And in as much as I didn't have college education, I always felt there was something better that I could do. So every evening I would write a CV and go around people's offices asking them for a better job, like a secretary, a receptionist. I used to think, wow, when I get a job, I'm gonna pay for my college. So I met this guy one day in a parking lot, and I wasn't so shy to tell people that I need a job. There was this thing driving me that, Priscilla, you can do better. So I explained my story to him, and he introduced himself as a brother to one of the cabinet ministers at that time. So he was coming from this huge political family. And so I believed him. Everything he was telling me, I'll find you a job, I'll find you this and that. As long as you get into a relationship with me, I'll do it for you. So I found myself starting to date him. I didn't know what dating was at that time. And by the time we had our second and third date, I had already messed myself. And there was nothing promising, and he was taking advantage of me. Every time he would meet me, we would arrange to meet in the evening, and I didn't even know that he was someone who was a family man, and he would just take advantage of me. And a few months later, 3 months, I found myself, I had conceived. And so it wasn't easy at all. Once I told him that I had conceived, he didn't want to pick calls again. He didn't even want to see me. I remember going to where he was working, and he sent the receptionist to tell me that he wasn't around that day. And I felt so alone. And, I shared that I was going to some nice church in Nairobi, and I shared my story with the pastor at that time. And he was so touched, and we even took action against the man, legal action. But with his mind of where he was coming from, nothing serious happened. So, people told me, don't worry, just move on with your life. You're so young, because I was 20 at that time. And just try to tackle life now on your own. So it was very hard, Sheila, because when I was 4 months, I lost my cleaning job. And so I did not know what to do. And I had to go back home and tell my parents what had happened. And my dad was so unwell at that time. And my mom and my siblings had all this pressure on them because of what was happening with my dad. And so they didn't want me to add more problems to them. So I remember my brothers were so harsh on me, and they told me, you know what, from now you're on your own. You went to Nairobi, you did what you did, and just go find your own life. Don't add more problems than the ones that we have. And also, my mom, there's nothing she could have done. I felt so much of a disgrace, especially to my dad, who had a lot of faith in me when I was a young girl. And I just had to leave. So I left. Reaching Nairobi, I couldn't even pay rent for another 1 more month. So the landlord was so impatient with me, threw me out, and I found myself in the streets. And I did not know what to do. I first called friends who we were working with and who we were in high school together, and told them what had happened. A few of them told me to go where they were living, in those sides of Isili. And 3 weeks later, one of them lost their job. So again, none of us could support the other. And we were all thrown out of that one-roomed house. And I found myself in Nairobi alone in the streets. So every day I would walk looking for a job. I was pregnant. I was going through so much changes in my body. I didn't know what they were. I wasn't going for clinics. And there's this watchman who came and approached me and asked me, Priscilla, I know you're Priscilla because I've been seeing you around the street every day, and I hear people calling you Priscilla. Others give you handouts in form of food, but I'd like to help you. I'm a watchman. I'm employed by a church in the city. Don't fear me. I'm married. I have children. But every day, be coming where I work at 6:30, and I'll be housing you until you find a place to live. And that's how I found myself living in a church. So when I was 8 months pregnant, this lady I came across in town who had also gone through a similar situation like I had. And so she told me, you know what, I'll share your story with a friend of mine. I don't know what he can do because you're almost due. He can't give you a job, but maybe he'll give you a job once you deliver. But now how you'll deliver and where you'll be staying, that's the most immediate thing that we need to think about. So he sent me to this friend of hers. It was a Mhindi man. And I remember when I went to Westlands, because I walked from town to Westlands Center, my feet were so swollen. I looked like I'll give birth the next minute. And then Mhindi looked at me and told me, I'm so sorry, whose child are you? And I told him, at the moment, I'm God's child.
And forever. Please don't cry because you're going to make me cry. But as you take a breath, Natalie, I come to you. When you listen to how difficult it was for your mom,
Yes.
how do you feel?
I feel so sorry for her.
I do too. I really do. But in having you here and seeing the poems and seeing how far you've come, you know that there's a bright future for you.
Yes, I do.
What do you want for your future? What do you see for yourself?
I see Natalie performing, writing books, and being popular.
We're all going to cry here. But it's good tears today, yes?
Yes.
It's good tears. And difficult circumstances, there's a reason why difficult circumstances will happen. And we're happy. All these tears that we have today are not upset tears because they're happy tears.
For the rest of this story, please click here.